So let's talk about generative AI and orchestration. And for that, I would like to start with a term that maybe some of you already heard about, RAG, for Retrieval Augmented Generation, what it stands for, and what is it, and what's its relation with orchestration. It is, in a sense, the next generation of AI-based solution. Why? Because, as you may know, with the usage of model and intensive usage of model right now, there are a lot of limitations, and RAG will unlock those limitations. What are the limitations? First, there is a contextual understanding that is missed. The model in general knows only what he learned. There is no way he can do more than what he learned. So it comes up in answers, and maybe a lot of you used ChatGPT and try to make a lot of things. You can see there is a lot of inconsistencies and sometimes going to total hallucinations. There is an inaptitude to add fresh data to what the model knows to do. And also some kind of lack of visibility of how things are working underneath. At the same time, we can see a rise of prompt engineering, and a lot of developers are using prompt engineering in order to give rules to models, and it brings like a formalized approach to communicate with models, which is pretty good. So we are very close. We can see some text-to-text prompt engineering, or text-to-image, or even non-text prompts also. So with that technology rising up, with those limitations, RAG has been introduced. And so what is it? It's very simple to understand. Instead of asking the model to do, based on the query, something, we're gonna first index some data into a vector database. The vector database is going to be stored and indexed as a vector, so totally digitalized as numbers, series of numbers. And before we're going to query the model, we're going to extract that. We're going to pass the question, and we're going to extract some relevant data that will be passed as rules as a context, to the model. Orchestration in itself is the best way today to develop modern distributed applications. And we talked a lot in the previous sessions about scalability, because yes, we are working in an unreliable network. And it is difficult to manage the pipes between services, and also to make sure that services are not linked together. It is very difficult to handle failures, doing retries when something failed, to make sure that we don't over consume some services. So all of this is really managed by an orchestration platform. It is also designed for change. Every single day, you may have new requirements coming from the business. Your company is doing a new partnership. Your company is, to secure a deal, needs to adapt the architecture to integrate some new data. The flow of those services are changing all the time. So it's very important to make sure that this change doesn't require you to go back to the code and redeploy, retest, etc. So what orchestration brings to Retrieval Augmented Generation? The indexation itself is a full orchestration of services. First, we need to go where is the data, the source of the data. We need to bring that data, index that data into the vector database. Then when there will be a query to the model, we're gonna get that data and create the context and bring that context into one single task. So instead of a lot of lines of code, using an orchestration platform can really be as simple as a couple of tasks that will be chained all together. And we benefit from all the standard orchestration platform features, like we can rate the limits. Querying a model can be can be very painful for the invoice at the end of the month, when if you don't rate the consumption of the model. It's very important to do that. When there is a problem in the model, and let's say you're developing a chatbot, for instance, and you cannot answer to the user, it can be quite a bad user experience. So you can rely on a compensation workflow that will integrate maybe someone that is an agent, or someone that is human, that can help and assist the developer if he didn't get his answer. And we bring also the role-based access control that will make sure that the people, the users that are authorized to query a model are really authorized to do so. Conductor here is, I mean, I'm not going to go over all the features of Conductor, because most of you knows what it does, and also what Orkes bring as enterprise features. But what we recently added is really the integration with all the AI world. The first one is an integration with AI providers, with OpenAI, with Hugging Faces as well. And the second one is with a vector database. With those two integrations, I can really build my Retrieval Augmented Generation platform. And that becomes just a single task. I have task to doing some LLM complete, text complete, or I can do the index text, index URL. All of those features comes out of the box with our version of Conductor. Let's see that over a use case. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of a trader. The trader has to manage a portfolio of stock options, and needs to read market news every single day to make sure that some news do not affect some of the companies he has in the portfolio that would trigger some decisions to sell or buy. And not only that, he's chatting with his counterparts to do negotiation when the trade is done, to go back to the back office. So he has a lot of things to do, right? And reading the news can be really time consuming. He has no time. He needs to do some trades. So let's say we have a first workflow here that is scheduled in order to get the market news and index those market news in a vector database. For this example, we took Waviate. And we have a second workflow that retrieves the query, is going to query the model, and of course, before that, retrieving the context from the previously indexed data as a context to the model, who is going to reply with an accurate answer that can be given back to the trader in his trader desktop, or send as a message in his chat message as well. If there is some ticker symbols, we can even go and get the intraday prices for those ticker symbols. So really, it opens a full set of features that we can implement here instead of just read the news and trying to make sure that the news are linked to something in the portfolio. Let's see it in action. And instead of executing the application myself, I'm going to ask you to take your phone, scan the QR code that you can see here, and you will be you will be redirected to a little sample application that will prompt you with 3 options that will correspond to 3 different queries. And I'm going to do it also on my side. So I'm going to take my phone, I'm going to click on the link, and that will propose me the 3 options. The first one will be Wall Street most valuable companies. The second one, performance of Royal Caribbean. And the third one is what is Snowflake growth. If I click, I'm going to click on the third one. And I'm going to have the result that's going to be displayed in my application right away with the link of the news that was really the source. So if you did it on your own, we're going to now go back to Conductor and see what has been executed. If I look at, so this is my cluster where my Conductor is deployed. I'm going to click on my Conductor UI here, and I'm going to see all the execution. And as you can see, we have a couple of execution that has been made right now, and I can click and introspect what has been done. So what is this workflow? The first thing is doing a LLM search index task. And I'm going to click here and see the output. The input is what is the performance of Royal Caribbean. So it was not mine, it was one of yours. Good job. And the output of this execution was a text that has been retrieved from the vector database. Where is my vector database? I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to my dashboard. Sorry, I need to log into my Waviate. So I have a cluster pinserve demo here, and I can need to move a little bit this. I can query, and I can see I want to get the news, execute this query, and I will see everything that is indexed in this database. So we have a lot of news, of course. If I see the first three, I will see the one that was related to the queries that this sample applications was doing. The first one is the most performant market, valuable companies on the market. The second one is about Royal Caribbean, and the third one is about Snowflake. So this is the source that has been put into the vector database. So now if I search, and how do I search there? I have my sample applications. I'm going to go to my Visual Studio. It's a sample React application. I have some server settings. I'm doing a Conductor client connection. So I hook my application to the server, to the Conductor server, and I can execute my workflow, which is the workflow name here. Workflow name is a little bit, sorry, I don't see it here. Market news search, yeah, it's highlighted here. And the questions, for the sake of the demo, I hard-coded the 3 questions that you saw in the application. And what I want is give the associated news URL as well as a href tag with a blank target. So this is really something I even don't have to code in my React application. This can be given by a rule from the query that I sent. And to do so, if I go back now to my Conductor, I can really understand this execution, that the second task is really a LLM test complete task that has an input, the question, what is the performance of Royal Caribbean, give the associated news URL as an href tag with a blank target. It's exactly the same thing you saw in my React app. And I give the context that I retrieved from the first task. And the prompt is Q News. We're going to introspect that in a second. The LLM provider is an OpenAI on Azure, and I use the model text DaVinci 003. Then where do I want my result? Do I want my result in my chat tool? If it is, traders are using mostly Symfony as a chat tool. So in that case, I would create a room, add member, send the message, get the tickers, and branch to a sub workflows in order to get all intraday prices for each ticker. Otherwise, I just reply to the query. Very simple here. So how I can integrate with those AI providers and vector database, something very simple as well. I have here an integration with my Azure OpenAI It's a simple hook that I define with an API key. And once I did that, I can define all the different models I want to use. As soon as I do that, I can use as a system task all the LLM task that will say, I want to use this provider and I want to use this model. The second integration is with my vector database, in that case, Wave8DB. Wave8DB is the same thing. We're going to see that it is to my FinServe demo cluster that we saw on Wave8, and with an API key, and that's it. The prompt definition, if I go to the QNews prompt that we saw at the execution, answer the question based on the context provided below, and the rule is only answer based on the context. If you don't know, say, sorry, I don't know. Then I give the context, I give the question, and I want the answer. If I go back now to the workflow itself to do the search, this is a task, and this is the definition of the task. I want LLM search index. I want it in from my vector database that we saw previously. I want the embedding model from Azure OpenAI, and I want the ADA002. For the complete task, I want the Azure OpenAI. I want the QNews prompt. Here is the questions coming from the workflow. The context comes from the previous task. And I want to use the model DaVinci 003. So to search from a model, and when you have all the index, it's like 2 tasks. That's it. Very simple. This was a little example to show you an introduction about generative AI and orchestration, and see how it works. I can also show you how the indexation has been made. If I go to market news index, so we index per industry. So we have like a master workflow that gives industries, and for each industry, we are going to execute a market search industry. And so let's search about the execution of this one, the last one. We can see that we get the news from a news provider, which is just an HTTP request. We are preparing an input that is just a little refactoring of what comes from the news. And we launched some indexation of each news that we're getting. So as you can see, we are getting a lot of different news. If I take, well, let's say, I'm going to take the first one. I can see the input. We have the news that comes, and the output is the workflow sub workflow ID that we're gonna trigger. If I take a look on the market news index, index the news itself. So I'm going to see all of those instances. I'm going to take one, and I'm going to see that the only thing we do is LLM index task. As an input is the text that we get, and the output, there is no output in that case. It's just index in my database, in my Wave8DB. All right, I hope that you, I'm going to go back to the slide. I hope that you enjoyed this little demo, and we're going to open the time for some little Q&A. Does Conductor supports multi-tenancy? This is a good question, actually. Yes, of course. Multi-tenancy can be managed by two different ways. You can have like one conductor cluster per tenant, or you can have only one tenant and use our groups and user rights to give for each tenant the visibility of just the workflows that they have to manage.
I think that's it. And if there's anything, we can take it up on Slack. And Yeah.
Yeah, don't hesitate to join if not done yet. Join the Slack channel as you saw, and Kit was very happy with the support that he found there. It's a very good source for help, and yeah, we are always available for questions there. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.